Hello and welcome to the Work for Change podcast. It's your boy Jean, but it's spelled like Jean.
And it's your boy John with a silent H. Welcome to episode 75 of the Work for Change podcast. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, and we just want to say thank you so much for being on this journey with us. I hope you guys are doing well during this quarantine time, that your mind is not just destroyed by now, that your body isn't, just freaking out and you don't have cabin fever. I hope you're able to find some escape from the craziness, and we hope that we get to be that for you on this episode.
Yeah, we had a great time. So today we interviewed Nick Bear, there's so many titles that he has. He is a YouTuber. He is the owner and CEO of BPN, Bear Performance Nutrition, who I recently signed with.
So he's Johnny's boss.
My boss. And so please be nice. No. And then he's also the author of 25 Hours in a Day. And so many other things. And we talked about pretty much all of that stuff. It's a really fun conversation. It's one that we've been kind of trying to get to happen for a while. Obviously with everything kind of going on, it's been a little crazy. But I'm really excited for you guys to hear this one.
Yeah. So if you guys like it, like it. And if you guys want to rate it, give us 5 stars on iTunes. That'd be awesome. And if you don't want to do that, it's totally fine. If you just want to enjoy the episode, we will accept that as well.
Yeah. Also, if you guys want to, keep up to date with us, make sure you follow us on Instagram at Work for Change Podcast. And, we're trying to post all of the pictures from the podcast just so you guys can have a little bit of a conversation down there and we can hear what you guys think. And then obviously, if you're watching on YouTube, you can leave a comment down on the video and let us know what you think of the podcast.
But without further ado, let's get into episode 75 with Nick Bear.
Nick, thank you so much for being on the Work for Change podcast. We are both super excited to have you on. We're both fans, friends, everything like that. So thanks for coming on, man.
Some might say lovers.
No. This is why Jean is allowed to intro the podcast.
Okay.
No, I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on. It'll be a good one.
Yeah, we've been trying to set this up, and then everything kind of went crazy in the world, and everything kind of got thrown up in the air. So it's finally, now everything's, not that it's calming down, but we're at least the new normal is the new normal now. So it's like, well, we're going to figure things out now.
That's the weird part about it. That's the weird part about it. This is normal now to us. So it's like, it's going to be weird going back to old normal.
Dude,
I agree.
I've been thinking about that so much. Like, it's going to be so weird. Like once we're allowed, I'm assuming the integration into public is going to be slow, but like once we're able to be in public again, right? Like I'm not sure how long it's going to be until I give someone a high five because I'm just going to be like, not because I'm worried about it, but it's like I don't want to make someone uncomfortable by trying to give them a high five and they can swerve me or something. So it's going to be interesting.
I think it's going to be a while till people feel comfortable doing those things again.
Mm-hmm. That or like flying. That's another one. Like going to an airport and like, I think I could go, but I would be so on high alert the whole time I was there. I'd be like, don't touch me, don't talk to me. Like I'd try and sit like far away from people. I'd be that person that brings the wipes onto the plane and like wipes down my seat and stuff. Like if I were to fly like right after. Okay, so the one thing that I wanted to, I'm sure a lot of people probably don't know is that the first conversation that Nick and I had was actually through Quest Nutrition. And I had a show that was called Transformation. And for the most part, it kind of focused on people that had lost a lot of weight. But we also wanted to do stories of people that have been on the other side of the spectrum. And so Nick has actually been through quite a crazy journey from the other side, from like being really, really underweight to like gaining weight and going through that. So I thought it would be interesting, Nick, if you could kind of like talk about that, because I haven't seen you talk about it much as of late because you have so much other stuff going on in your life.
Yeah, man, I was like, it almost feels so it feels so long ago. My life has made so many changes that I sometimes forget I was at a spot like that before. But I was like 14, 15 years old. I remember like being in, I think it was 7th or 8th grade, right before high school. And I just developed this very unhealthy relationship with food where it was, the best way to describe it is I started being able to I found control in something that being restricting food and losing weight. And it wasn't even a fact that I wanted to just get skinny or I thought I was overweight or anything. I just found control in it. So it started with, slowly eating less and avoiding social situations where there was food available. And it got to a point where it got out of control where I was eating maybe like 400 calories a day.
Wow.
I mean, I remember like an extreme where I would go through the lunch line in middle school and I would get a turkey and cheese sandwich and I would get a water bottle and I'd get an orange. And I would I'd tear a lot of the bread off the sandwich. I would tear a lot of the cheese off the sandwich and a lot of the meat, so that the sandwich ended up being like the size of a quarter. Like it was like 3 bites. And I would eat the small sandwich. I'd eat like half an orange and I'd drink the water. And I'd go back to my like class after that. And I would always go and feel my hip bone. And I wanted to feel more of my hip bone, I can remember. And if I could feel more of my hip bone, that meant I was in control of like my diet and I was losing weight. And it got to a point where I was playing sports then. And my performance obviously went to absolute garbage because I had no energy. I was fatigued. And I remember waking up one Saturday morning and I had a baseball game that day and I couldn't get out of bed because I was so tired.
Wow.
So during this time, my mom's taking me like to and from hospital visits all the time. They're trying to figure out why I'm losing weight, why I'm sick, why I'm like not able to get out of bed. I knew what I was doing the entire time, but they all thought like they're trying to figure it out. They thought I had some sort of disease or illness. And it got to a point where after that game, and I was going to doctor's appointments left and right, like 3 times a week. And after that game where I couldn't get out of bed, we went to another routine doctor appointment. I was like, I'm going to sit through this one. And it was a eating disorder clinic. And like, they just confronted me there. It was like an intervention almost. And it really just like, it clicked there. Cause I was like, okay, I got to do something. I got to fix this. Obviously, this is hurting more people than myself right now. So I remember going home after that appointment and I was like, all right, I got to start eating. And it wasn't like, I don't want to make it seem like it was easy transition because it wasn't at all. But I remember getting back to the house and my parents like, you got to start eating and stuff like that. And I'm looking at this box of Pop-Tarts. I'm like, all right, I'm going to eat 2 Pop-Tarts. I'm like, this is 400 calories in 2 Pop-Tarts. I'm like, this is more food than I've consumed daily, probably for the past couple of months. And I did that and I felt like so guilty after that. And it took months, if not years, to fully get a healthy relationship with food again. So like when I was younger, high school, like it was always an issue, but like it hit an extreme, a very low point where if I would have sustained that, I would have died. Like I remember we went and did this one test in the hospital where they wanted to check to see like what my stomach was doing after I ate food. And at the time I was also binging. Like I'd go forever without any food and I'd go hardcore binge. And it was like a Friday night where I binged on like these ribs and like sugar cookies, I remember. And the Monday after at this appointment, they put this scope down my throat to see what my stomach was doing. And that food, those ribs or sugar cookies were still in my stomach.
Wow.
Because like my body, like my organs were just like shutting down. Mm-hmm. So I hit that extreme and I forced myself to like pick the pieces back up again, but it was a long journey to build back up.
It's a lot of this stuff. It's funny because both of us come from extremes, but they're on the complete opposite sides of the spectrum. Like the first thing that you said when you were saying this, it feels like it's not me anymore, or like it's a different person. I'm at that point too, but from a opposite side of the spectrum. But I think that's important in that like people can see that if you are going through that, because when you're going through it, right? When I was obese and like trying to lose weight, it felt like it was never going to end. Like this is going to be my life forever, right? Yeah. But the fact that you're at a point now where you're like, you look back at that and you're like, I don't like, for me at least, I don't want to speak for you, but for me, I look back on the things that I did and I'm like, why did I do that? Like it doesn't make any sense to me now with knowing what I know now. But as I was doing it, obviously it made sense and I just continued to do it. And the other thing that really kind of like stuck out to me was how you said it, when you like now you look back, it didn't seem like it was that big of a deal, but then you kind of step back, you're like, I don't want to say it was easy. And like that's how I felt too. Like when you had that moment with the Pop-Tart, you're like, I'm gonna eat this, and that was kind of like the times when things kind of started switching, and that I had my own little click moment. And like losing, that was like right when I decided, okay, I'm going to start losing weight. And it wasn't easy from that point, but I had that like that switch in mindset of being like, I am not going to let myself give up on myself. Like it was like, this needs to happen. Like like you were saying, you were, if you would have continued doing that, you would have died, right? Who knows how long it would have been, but like I felt the same way. Like I was 20 years old. I've said this so many times. Like I was 20 years old, literally constantly thinking this weight is going to kill me at some point. I don't know how far into the future it's going to be, but it's going to happen. And so it's just so crazy how we can have such different backgrounds, but they can have so many similarities.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can relate to this where your head space is so different now. Like my head space is so different now than it was then, that when I tell the story sometimes I feel like I'm telling someone else's story because it's so unrelatable to me now that sometimes I even forget that like this was part of my life at one point and I had to overcome this. And when I say like, I don't want to act like it was an easy transition. Like it wasn't an easy transition, but like where I'm at now is so different from then that you kind of forget how hard it was to get over that point and where your head was. But when you get out of it, it's like you're breathing again.
Mm-hmm. This question, I guess, is directed towards both of you.
Now Jean's interviewing both of us.
Yeah. Welcome to the Jean Glaude podcast.
Change up.
So I just wonder, like, do you think there was anything you could say to the person who you don't feel like you are anymore? And if there is, what would it be? Like, if you were to encounter in some weird time paradox and you were to walk across that person, is there anything you would want to say to that person who is you but is so not you?
I think I was so close-minded at that point that I didn't want to hear what anyone was saying. I didn't want to hear anyone else's perspective. I was like, I had these things around my eyes where I couldn't see anything else. I didn't want to listen to anything else. So I think I was at a point where no matter what people were trying to tell me to do and what was right and what was wrong, I was in my own head so much that I didn't care. It was such an internal battle that, I mean, that's what makes it so hard for people is that it doesn't matter what other people are telling you. It doesn't matter at the moment because you're so in it that it's hard to get out of it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would agree with that. Like the thing that I would say if I had to talk to that person, right? And I was like, you have to say it anyway. So just it doesn't matter if you think it's going to change anything. It would be as cheesy as it sounds, but it would be like encouraging, being like, you can change this. But like Nick said, if I were to actually be in that position again and had that mindset, I wouldn't have believed it anyways. Mm-hmm. You know, like I wouldn't. Because we've talked about it on the podcast. I had shirts that said "Born to be Big" on it. Like I was fully committed to this. Like I am the big guy. Like this is just who I am, you know. And so I think that Nick kind of hit it on the head. It's like I would love to say something and try and change, but like I've said so many times in videos, like nothing matters. Like even if I'm trying to help a family member or a friend to lose weight, nothing I do matters until they've decided this is something I want to do for myself. And so I might say something, but I wouldn't have the most confidence that it's going to change anything for that person. You know,
I do think that, and like, obviously this is why you have such a big following, is that when it comes from someone who's been through the same situation, there's a factor of relatability. Mm-hmm. When it comes from someone that you can relate to, it holds a lot more weight. But when I was going through this at 14 years old, there's no one that, I'm from a small town too, no one that I could relate to about this. I was like, man, something's messed up with me. I don't know how to get over this. I don't know anyone else is going through this. I'm embarrassed about this. I don't want anyone to know. And, but I think if I would have had someone that went through that as well and like got through it and said, hey man, you're messing up. Like I've been there. This is where you can be. That would have been like something different in a different perspective that would have really carried a lot of weight.
Mm-hmm. And so you went from, you were dealing with that. When you were dealing with like the eating disorder and trying to gain weight, had you already decided that you wanted to join the military at that point?
No. I mean, I was 14, 15 years old when that happened. I didn't decide I wanted to go in the Army until like 17 years old.
Okay.
So I was 17, I applied for the Army ROTC scholarship and I was awarded that. So then I went to college, after graduating from high school, and the Army ROTC scholarship at Indiana University of Pennsylvania near Pittsburgh.
And I think that one of the things that I really like about your story and just like the tenacity that you've showcased. So I've read your book, the 25 Hours a Day, and which is great. So I recommend everyone check it out. But you talk a lot about that time, being in the Army, but then even more so is like being in the Army and then dealing with trying to start BPN, right? Your company that you run, and the amount of backlash that you actually got. I was actually just recently listening to your most recent podcast that you put up on your platform, and you talked about something. I actually wrote it down. I really loved this. And so it was stop at nothing, but then you went further and you said stop at no one. And
Yep.
you told this story of an officer that was above you, basically saying, I don't want to tell the story because I want you to tell it. Do you know which story I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Can you tell that story?
Yeah, this is right before I was getting out of the military. It was like my last couple months in, and Fair Performance Nutrition had grown a lot over the years at this point. But we were still like really early on trying to figure some stuff out. But I was fortunate enough to have been able to grow the company to a point where I could transition out of the military and support myself with my company afterwards. So I'm sitting in the operations offices one day in this afternoon, and this Army officer, this major, walks up to me and he gets in my face a little bit. And he's like, no, Lieutenant Bear, you're going to fail as soon as you get out of the military. You're going to regret getting out. You're going to want to come back in. I said, like, no, sir. Like, I locked up the position of tension. I said, no, sir. Like, I have a plan. It's going to work. And he just looks at me and goes, and at this point, because I went to position of attention, all my other officer buddies and all the other officers in this room stop what they're doing. They're staring. And he gets in my face and he goes, could you buy a Ferrari in cash right now? And I kind of was like, was thinking about it for a second in my head. I'm like, hell no. But I was like, this is my opportunity just like to really shove it in his face. I was like, sir, I could buy 2 right now. and he said nothing. He just turned away and walked away. And I looked over at all my friends. I was like, holy crap. And like, it was one of those things like, you're working so hard to build something up. Along the way, everyone's going to try to bring you down. Like, there's people that are waiting for you to fail. There's people that are hoping that you fail. And every ounce of little setback or failure you hit, they're just like, they're grinning off of it. They love it. And that's why I was like, man, like, I'm not going to stop for no one. Like, everyone, since I started all this stuff years ago, there's always been someone at some point like waiting for me to fail or hoping that I fail. And if I would have gave up at those points, like, man, I wouldn't be here doing this stuff. So it's like, you just got to do what you got to do and want to do, and do it for yourself and the people who support you.
Yeah, that's like one of people always like when you want to do something that is, a big thing, whether that's, lose a ton of weight or like when I decided I was going to run a marathon, I had a lot of people that were like, you're an idiot. And then some of them were kind of right. I didn't do the best job in the marathon, but like there's always, whenever you put out this big goal that you have, that's one of the scariest things is like dealing with I don't like the word haters, but the people that are the naysayers, the people that are just like waiting for you to fail. And so I just thought that was a really interesting like little story that you told. And then like, I think for some reason, this is what was kind of going through my mind when you were telling that story, because I was listening to it on a walk that I was on. It was when you said stop at no one. The thing that came to my mind was when you say no one, I think myself as well. And like that's one of the things right now, and this is kind of pertinent to what we're all dealing with as the world, is everyone is kind of stuck inside, right? And for people like us that really enjoy lifting and working out, a lot of people don't have access to a gym, myself included, right? And so my mindset could be, well, I'm just not going to work out. Or if I do work out, I'm just going to be like doing it and almost being like upset that I have to work out at home and annoyed. And I think right from the start, and this was just like a natural thing that I did, I was like, I'm not going to complain about the fact that I have to work out at home. Instead, I'm going to think of it as I get to work out at home. Because I do, right? I'm very lucky that I live with Jean and Sam. We all like working out, so they're not annoyed when I'm in the freaking living room doing burpees, you know? Well, they might be a little bit, but it's not too bad. And so like I have that. And then now we got a pull-up bar, you know, we're trying to get some stuff for the little home gym that we have, but it's like, I'm not going to let myself just think that negatively, because if I thought like that, I would never actually try, you know? And so the thing that was like, it just kept coming to my mind was when you were talking about that, it's like, no one includes yourself. And I think that's almost the biggest person. You know, you have to overcome that, because before you even dealt with that, I'm rambling now, but before you even dealt with that, was it the officer that was above you that was kind of saying that stuff, you had to deal with your own self of even putting yourself out there, right? Because you wouldn't have even gotten to that point if you didn't, you know, like get past your own self-doubt.
No, putting yourself out there, it's tough, and it's, you know, you're exposing your weaknesses, your vulnerabilities. Like I'm at a point right now where, you know, I'm training to qualify for the Boston Marathon, and I'm exposed to more trolls now than ever, where everyone's saying you will not do this. I mean, there's forums out there, people saying Nick Bear will never qualify for Boston, and all I gotta say is like, just wait, man. Like I'm not saying it's gonna happen in 2 months, but that's like, if I establish a goal, I'm gonna work for it until I'm dead. You know, so it's one of those things, like people are going to try to bring you down along the way, and they're going to say no. But from my perspective, people do this because when you step outside of your comfort zone, when you set a standard that's higher for yourself, well, that tests and that questions their standard for themselves. And when their like standard is questioned for themselves, they have to reevaluate what they're doing with their life. And a lot of people don't like that. So it's easier to attack other people than work harder, work more.
So we've kind of went straight to the fact that you have this company and you were in the military. But can you talk about the process of building BPN, like while you were in the military, while you were overseas, and you know, you're like, I've heard a little bit about it, but not too much. But for the people who have no clue, will you talk about a little bit of the process of starting the company, why you wanted to start it? I mean, what it was like in those early days while you were still deployed?
Yes. So I started the brand in 2012. I was a junior in college studying nutrition, and I was in the Army ROTC program, and I loved the supplement space. I loved like lifting weights. I loved performance stuff. So like when I was in college, I had no money. So what I would do is me and my buddies would chip in a bunch of money. We'd buy ingredients in bulk. We'd buy like caffeine, citrulline malate, creatine, and we mix up our own pre-workouts. So like I'm this kid in the dorms, and I have this food scale in my room. And I have all these white powders, and I'm mixing up pre-workouts. It looks like I'm dealing drugs out of my college apartment.
The creatine
dudes would come up to they'd come up to my room, and they'd buy like pre-workout from me that I'd make and sell for like $1. And we wouldn't flavor it or anything. And I was just doing this. And then between my junior and senior year of college, I had to go to this training in Washington State for ROTC. It was called Leadership Development Assessment Course. It was for 30 days, where essentially you're assessed between all the cadets in the nation that determines what you do in the military. And I got evaluated really well when I was there. So I came back home with this newfound confidence of, well, the Army found me exceptional at something. I'm going to run with this. Mm-hmm. So at the time I was like, well, the military offered this program for college students where you could take out up to a $25,000 loan, a very low interest rate. You have to start making payments for like 18 months. And I was like, well, here's my golden ticket. I'm going to take this loan out. All my other friends were taking this loan out, buying new cars, getting engagement rings, going on vacation. I was like, I'm gonna start a company. So I spent all the money on inventory, which meant I had to do all the fulfillment, all the marketing. I was the person on the photo shoots. I was running the whole operation of the business. So I told my dad, I was like, all right, I'm going to launch this business. In year one, I'm going to make $1 million. And he said, if it was that easy, everyone would do it. I said, I'm going to prove you wrong. So year one, I launched, I sent it out to some YouTubers. Day one, we make the site live and like no sales. So year one, we ended up making about $20,000 because I was just doing 50% off sales all the time. And first 3 years in business, we did $20,000 in revenue each year. And it was kind of tricky because a year after starting the business, I graduated college. I went into the Army. I got shipped to Fort Benning, Georgia, where I did Ranger School. infantry officer basic course, airborne school. And I got sent to Fort Hood, Texas, which was my first duty assignment. So when I got to Texas, my unit was in Germany at the time, and I realized I had all this free time. So I was like, I'm gonna start a YouTube channel. I always wanted to be a YouTuber. I was watching like some of the fitness YouTubers at the time, and I was like, I'm just gonna create this YouTube channel to document my training and nutrition with, with the free time I have. And I slowly started like becoming obsessed with creating. It wasn't necessarily I was obsessed with YouTube. I was just obsessed with creating and spending my time doing something productive. So this is 2014, and I'm making videos on nutrition and training and full day of eating videos and all this stuff. And I'm building this community online. I'm seeing people like getting involved, and I enjoyed that. And I was growing the brand with it. So I saw as my social media platforms grew, the business started growing too. And then in 2016, we got orders to go to South Korea for 9 months. And when I got to South Korea, I told myself, all right, I'm going to spend every waking moment outside of my primary job, which is being an Army officer, building my business. So I didn't watch any TV. I didn't watch any movies. Every waking moment outside of working my job in the military, I was researching how to build a brand. I was researching how to market, make videos, create content. And that's where I really scaled my brand. And that's where, John, you and me connected when I was in South Korea. We did that interview for Quest. And that's when my social media.
I think it was like 3 a.m. for you. And when we did that too,
yeah,
it was like
14-hour time difference. Yeah, 14-hour time difference. So like I was working nonstop in Korea. Like I was sleeping a few hours, if every night, to grow it. But that work that I dedicated in Korea allowed me to come back from that rotation, transition out of the military, go full-time into my brand, and work with me, my brother, and our friend Joe, who still works with us. And we just hit the ground running to scale Bear Performance Nutrition.
I think what's really interesting, one of the things that like it just sticks out in my head is that the fact that you were stationed in North Korea.
South Korea,
yeah, not North Korea.
Very different.
That would be intense,
very
man.
different. Yeah.
that would be bad.
So, but like I could imagine someone having the mindset of like, oh man, I'm going to this, super far away from your business, which is mainly U.S., right? And so it's like I'm super far away. I'll just need to kind of scale. Like in my head, I would think someone would think I need to scale back a little bit while I'm gone, and then once I come back, I can get back to work, basically, kind of thing, And the fact that you were like, no, I'm gonna go in even more, and then it afforded you the opportunity. Once you were done, you were able to be like, all right, now I'm full time working on literally what was your dream, and is still your dream, I'm assuming.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think it's a lot of people don't realize how much time they have throughout a day, a week, a month, a year that is wasted. And there's exercises people do where it's like you just keep track of every hour of your day for a week, and you tally how many hours of wasted, pointless time you had throughout a day. You multiply that by every day in the year. And a lot of times that's why people don't reach levels of success to their goals, is because they say they don't have time, but in reality, they might have wasted thousands of hours in a year, which they could have been using to do what they want to do.
Yeah, that's 100% like that. I think that right now, a lot of people are, and I mean, there's debate over this, like, oh, if you're at home right now, just as long as you're not like melting down and having a panic attacks, you're doing fine. But I think that there are a lot of people right now that are realizing, okay, they have so much time right now. People that have no job right now, or maybe they their job had just basically had to lay them off until everything was, everything is back to normal. A lot of people are having a lot more time, and I think in my space, the people that are following me, a lot of people were worried that they're going to be home more. They're worried that they're going to be eating more and all of this stuff. But I really think that if you have the right mindset going into this, right, the right mindset going into this quarantine, dealing with being home all the time, that you really can make this a positive. You really can turn this into a net positive. And it's such a crazy time, and I get it. If you can't do that, that's fine. I'm not going to shame you and be like, you're a lazy piece of crap because you can't start a business during the quarantine or something. But if you want to, you don't have to basically just write off these next few months or whatever, however long it's going to be as there's nothing I can do. Like, you really can make a positive change in your life right now. Like, I really do believe that.
I think this time more than ever can be the most productive time of your life. But I think a lot of people know that, but they don't want to take advantage of that. It's always that step. It's always taking that action that is where people like miss. They dream of the things they want to do. They talk about the things they want to do. They can see it and where they want to be at their point in their life. They never actually just like take that actionable step to make it happen. I truly believe that anyone can accomplish anything they want in life, but like what holds so many people back is just taking the action.
Yeah, I know that like just like personally in my side, like a lot of the times we can get into you were talking about like putting it out there, those big, scary, audacious, hairy goals or whatever, like putting those out there and people are going to judge you. Like a lot of the times that is a huge fear. And I feel like it's a huge fear for a lot of people, is putting just a goal out there that people are going to ridicule. And then I find myself more often than not, like once I put it out there and it gets ridiculed, I will like self-sabotage myself. Self-sabotage yourself. Because it's like, okay, well, it's because of this, and it's like I create this like self-sabotage routine where I no longer fulfill my goal. And it's almost like a way of just kind of being like, okay, good. Now I'm out of this. And so it's like, I'm sure a lot of people listening can 100% relate to that. And like, for me, it's like, okay, what can I do, to not do that? And for me, what helps is trying to, like you were talking about, map out your day. Especially like, and for me, like I'm not less busy right now. I'm a lot more busy, because video is my job. And so a lot of people need video for their products now and what they do. And, so it's like, if I don't block out my day specific to when I'm going to do it, when I'm going to wake up, when I'm going to work out, when I'm going to work, when I'm going to edit, it does just kind of feel like this like blob of a day that has really no definition. And so like for people listening, if you find yourself in that situation where it's like you feel like your day is just a big blob and there's no definition to it, like add some corners, like add some marks where you go, at this point I do this, at this point I do this. And I've noticed that that's helped me a lot, to feel that purpose and that motivation in what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think, like you said, we're creatures of habit, and people need structure to maintain like their sanity and their goals. And like the stuff going on right now is everyone's structure and their habit and their routine has gone out the window. So a lot of people like they lose all directions because they don't know what to do with all this time. So establishing those like that structure back in your life somehow, that routine can make the biggest difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I 100% I agree with that. Like something I've been saying a lot, like on my YouTube channel and stuff, is like if you feel like you kind of like that blob right now, like try and make yourself wake up at the same time that you were before, and like what I've been doing is structuring my day. Like I wake up around the same time, I'm working out around the same time, I'm trying to make sure that I'm eating around the same time. A lot of people are really nervous about eating right now, and it's like just make sure you're eating at the same times. Don't let yourself snack if that's something you're worried about. That's something that's like really been helping me out, is just having those set times that I do things, because then it's like I'm going to go do the thing that I always do at this time instead of being like, well, I just sit here, I guess, All right, so one thing I kind of wanted to switch gears a little bit and talk about like your training, because I think that for people that don't know you, I think that what you've done with your training over the years is very interesting, and I think it's really inspiring as well. So you're in the military, you're like you become this huge jack dude, right? Like you leave the military. I remember, what was your heaviest weight that you got up to?
I was like probably 225, 230.
So you got up to that, and like, I mean, if you guys aren't watching or if you guys haven't seen, Nick was a massive, huge dude.
See, I've made that weight before. But it was more
very
different
in his belly.
Belly and like right under the chin. Very different locations.
I was thick. I had like bowling balls and like my shoulders at that point.
Yeah.
So you got super jacked, you're doing a ton of bodybuilding stuff, and then you decide basically to almost do a 180. And I don't know, I'm not the best at with the timeline, but I know that you initially, I think you did a marathon first. Is that right?
Yeah, so it was 2017. It was 2018. I did my first marathon. I did the Austin Marathon, and I was still like 225 pounds then. And at that point, I kind of just wanted to prove to people that at 225, I was still functional. I could still run a marathon. And then I got into CrossFit after that, and I ran another marathon. And then I started missing the military camaraderie, the military training. So I started doing these long ruck marches again, like 100-mile plus ruck marches in like 2017, 2018. And it was about a year ago, almost exactly a year ago now, in like April of 2019, I decided I was going to do an Ironman triathlon, which is a 2.4 mile swim, 112 mile bike, and a 26.2 mile marathon. So when I signed up for the Ironman, I actually didn't know what an Ironman was. I was on a couch one day, and I just got done with a 100-mile ruck march, and me and my fiance Steph, we thought my feet were broken because I couldn't walk. So I was sitting on the couch, and we were debating on whether or not to go to the hospital. And then I ended up on Ironman's website and ended up signing up for the Ironman then. So then I realized, okay, I need to learn how to ride a bike. I need to learn how to swim, and I need to drastically improve my endurance. So for 6 months, I trained for this Ironman, which I completed in November of 2019. Yeah, November of 2019, I completed the Ironman, Panama City, Florida. And that was an amazing, amazing experience. And after that, I was kind of hooked on the endurance bug, where I finished the Ironman. 2 weeks later, I started training to qualify for the Boston Marathon. So in my best marathon time to date at that point was a 3:57. And then the year after that, I ran a 4:15. So 2018, my marathon time was 3:57. 2019 was 4:15. And then this past one I did in February was 3:24. So I still have to qualify for Boston. I still have to shave 24 minutes, more like 27 minutes off my marathon time to run a sub 3-hour marathon. And that's been my journey so far into endurance, but it's been humbling. Like, I made a post about this other day where endurance, when I transitioned into it about a year ago, it was all new. And I knew that I was exposing myself and showing weaknesses and vulnerabilities, and people online were going to attack that. But I wanted to show other people, like, hey, if you want to do something just like me, I'm going to go out and I'm going to do it. I'm going to learn by experience. I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to fail. It's going to hurt. It's going to be uncomfortable. But where it takes your mind and body is going to be literally life-changing.
Yeah, it's with the whole Ironman thing, man. Like, that 100% inspired me to do the triathlon that I was planning on doing at the end of June, but it's probably not going to happen. But eventually, I'm going to do one, hopefully this year, right? So like it 100% inspired me. Like, watching the whole journey, I think it's really interesting, because I think when people get into a certain training style, they feel like they are locked into that. And I dealt with it on a much smaller scale, I think, because I went from doing like bodybuilding stuff. When I got into CrossFit, I was making videos on it, right? And I was dealing with so many people. And I'm sure you dealt with this as well. Like, oh, you're going to get so much smaller. You're going to lose all your gains. This is going to happen. That's going to happen. And I just remember thinking, like, okay, even if I did lose gains, like, it's not the end of the world. Like, that's not why I do this. Like, for me, especially getting into fitness, it was about improving the quality of my life and improving my health. And so if doing this thing is going to make me lose muscle or whatever, which it hasn't, but whatever, but it improves the quality of my life and improves my health, then I'll take that change any day of the week, you know?
So like, and like, to piggyback off that, like, did you, I'm sure you heard people, but like, within your own mind, like going from being such a freaking beast, like you're still a beast, but like massive, like huge, and now in order for endurance, you do have to slim down a little bit. Like, was that a hard, like, okay, in order to do this, I need to lose some muscle mass? Or like, was that like a hard thing in your mind, or was it just kind of like, all right, this is what happens?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't hard for me at all. And I think like I get those comments and DMs all the time, like, dude, you're looking so much smaller, you're losing all your muscle. Like, Nick, go back to bodybuilding and powerlifting. I miss you then. It's like the muscle will come, man. Like, you can lose it, you can gain it back. It's part of the journey. It's part of the process. And I love fitness in general. I don't just love bodybuilding. I don't just love like CrossFit. I don't just love endurance. I love it all.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to try all of it so that when I talk to people about running and I talk to people about lifting weights, or talk to people about Metcons, I want to talk from experience and put myself through that and go through it. And I love setting new goals and reaching these goals and working towards those goals. And when those goals are different and those objectives are different, it requires a different process to get there. So what I'm doing right now is just part of the process. So when people comment all the time, like, dude, Nick, you're so much smaller, you lost all your size. In my head, I'm just like, but it doesn't matter.
Yep.
Like, I'm still working towards this goal. What happens with my body, like with muscle, is just part of that training. It's part of that process. And the goal is different now. It's not getting as big and strong as possible. I'm focused on performance now. And before I was focused on looks and how I looked. And it was, I'll be honest, it was kind of like a vain thing where I was training for looks. But with the transition to training for performance, my mindset with diet has changed. My mindset with eating and nutrition has changed. And for me, it's a very enjoyable process. And it just makes more sense for what I'm doing in my life right now.
Yeah, you talked about liking to have the variety of skills and workouts, and one of the things, like, if you look at your gym, you've done like a couple little tours of it, and it is like the fun, like, there, you can't look at your gym and be like, oh, this guy power lifts only, or this guy does CrossFit. Like, it's almost like if you do CrossFit, oh, cool, here's some stuff for you. I got an assault bike and I've got all this and I've got the Rogue rig. But you want to do some bodybuilding? Sweet. We've got some machines or whatever. Like, I just really like how, like, Frankenstein is the wrong word, because that's like it looks poor. It's like, it's very eclectic. It's got a wide variety. And so I just think it's really funny how that reflects very much your like training philosophy of just like, dude, I just want to have fun. I want to get fit. And I really enjoy that. I think it's really cool.
I think the guys at the warehouse, whenever they know I'm like training for something new, they know I'm about to make a massive change to the gym. Whenever my training changes, I always change. Like, the gym goes through this massive transformation, and we keep some pieces and we get rid of some pieces, but it's at a point now where it's a really balanced gym where really anyone can come in and hit a workout, because there's a little something for everyone there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like any style that they want to hit. And I think that's something that's I've enjoyed. I mean, I think we're similar in certain ways. You're just at a like much higher level as far as how fast you can run and how strong you are. But like I also, like, before all this was going on, I still did bodybuilding style training, but it's just not all that I did. You know what I mean? I would still do CrossFit. I still ran. And for me, I'm just glad that I have all the options, because I was talking to a friend of mine during this quarantine. I was like, man, if I didn't get into CrossFit when I did, and I only did bodybuilding, this isn't a slight at bodybuilding, I'm just saying this is a fact. Like, if I only did bodybuilding and I was stuck at home, I would have no idea what I should do at home. Like, no idea what workouts I should do. I wouldn't be able to make workouts for myself. Now, I've literally been putting out a workout every day, and like thousands of people are enjoying the workouts I'm making because I made that change, into CrossFit. And it's not even like I'm making people do CrossFit, but it's through that type of training, I've been like, okay, I can do this. We can add this into a workout. And it's just given me so many more options when you are kind of, obviously hopefully it doesn't happen again, but if it ever did, I wouldn't feel like I was boxed into this one, you know what I mean, one thing that I can only do.
Well, it teaches you to be resourceful. So, like, through this whole process, I've learned all these different styles of training, and I found pieces that I love and I hate. But like my type of schedule that I love is if I want to go run a 10-mile run, I want to be able to do that. And some days I want to go and I want to hit a pump session, and I'm going to do that. And sometimes I want to throw some weight around and do body weight stuff. Like, I'll do that. But I don't think I ever want to get to a point again where we're like, sorry, man, I can't do this today because I have chest. Like, if I want someone to come grab me and say, hey, man, I know you're supposed to do this like chest workout today, but we're going on like a 10-mile trail run. Do you want to go? It's like, absolutely. Why would I turn that down? So I think, we in the fitness space, everyone wants to place titles on like, what do you do? Well, I'm a bodybuilder. I'm a CrossFitter. I run marathons. Well, what if you just want to be a hybrid of all that stuff and like experience all the benefits of every part of every type of style of training?
Mm-hmm. And it just makes it more fun. Like for me, I don't want to say that I get bored of things easily, but I mean, I can get, like, things can get stale. And so with all of the different things that I'm able to do, it just makes training always fun. And like, if I am getting bored of running a lot, I can be like, okay, I'll just do this instead, So it never feels like it's super stale, which I am very happy about, and I am very appreciative of. And so it's really nice. And like for me, so something that I'm sure people that are listening kind of know and have seen. Like I'm an athlete with BPN, right? So I'm a sponsored athlete, and the way that happened was I hit up Nick and I was like, hey, bro, I want to talk about something. You know what I mean? Because for me, being aligned with like a company that the CEO, the person that owns it, that created it, is someone that honestly, I'm not trying to like kiss your butt or whatever, but it's like I look up to you and your work ethic and the things that you've built, and the fact that everything that the company stands for is what you stand for as well. And there's no like, oh, it's like this big company that is like pulling the strings and making it seem like it's like, no, like it's literally your name is the company. You know what I mean? And I think that's a lot of people can relate to that, and like they really like that, and I think that's why it's grown as much as it has. Is that there's no BSing. It's like I want to work hard, and through the YouTube videos, and you kind of brought it up. It's almost funny how you started the company, you didn't have the channel then, but then you started the channel, and it almost helped the company grow. And it's been like that ever since. It's like as the company's grown, I've seen your channel grow as well. And I think, it's all super well deserved, but it's just so cool that people have this connection with BPN that they wouldn't have with any other like supplement company. Because like honestly, BPN doesn't feel just like a supplement company. When I think of it, and when I see you talk about it, it seems like it's a lot more than that. And I just, I think that it's really cool. And so like, I'm super excited to be part of like the family, part of the company. I'm excited to go there at some point, when everything calms down, but it's really cool, man. I think what you've built is really awesome.
No, I appreciate it. I think something that we're doing really well this year now is, we have Jordan, who's our videographer, and then, Trey, he's about to come on and do all of our social media, and him and Jordan will work the creative department here in house. And something we're doing really well at, and we have planned for the future, is while other supplement companies just focus on selling the product, well, we're selling a mission. Like we're selling a lifestyle. It's like the whole go one more mentality. It's like we literally live and breathe it. Like as soon as I qualify for Boston, it's going to be what's next. And we already know what's next. We haven't announced it yet, but we know what's next. And it's going to be like the biggest thing that I've ever done, but it's living and breathing that mentality of like, it never stops. Like you never stop pushing yourself. You always go one more. And we're not just focused on selling product, but it's like helping people reach their fitness goals, no matter what they're doing, through a mindset, through nutrition, through training. And then the products are just what support our ability to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like speaking of the variety, you just signed, John David as an athlete. Is that the term? Yeah. Yep. And then you got Cole Sager, who also I saw just came. She's a beast. Yeah. And then what other, like you have a couple other athletes in very different fields. Like who are they and what do they do? you know?
Yeah, so we have Russell Orhe, world-class powerlifter.
Freaking strong, man.
We have Amanda Lawrence, world-class powerlifter. Ryan Dangler, he goes to Ohio State University. I mean, he's a stud in powerlifting, bodybuilding, really good personality, and just like has a really strong connection with a younger crowd who is like helping develop them to be like really strong leaders in the fitness space. We have Evan Childs, who she's based out of Florida. She owns a gym, she owns an apparel company, really strong entrepreneur. Chase Tuning runs a health podcast. Nick Kumalatos, former Marine Raider. Austin Alexander, he's in the Navy, creates some really good content on the Navy and fitness challenges. So, I mean, the team itself is like, we don't just bring on anyone to the BPN brand of the team. And like when we bring on a new athlete, it's a really big deal to us because they're like, everything they do has to connect with the brand, their message, their content. And we've had people with like hundreds of thousands, close to 1 million followers reach out and say, I want to be a part of the brand. And they probably would have made a lot of money for the company, a lot of exposure, but they didn't connect with the brand. So we just like said, hey, this doesn't make sense to us. Sorry, but you're not for us. So like when we bring an athlete on, it's like, it's very, I mean, there's a lot of thought that goes into it because those two have to align.
Yeah, and that's why I feel like so like honored to be part of it, is because a lot of the people, a big part of it was the people that work with you, the athletes that you have. Like I look up to them, but then I see them as like good people, and just like it's just a good company to be a part of, and I'm super stoked about it. There was one thing that we haven't talked about yet that I really wanted to get to before we end, and that's your book. And I just kind of wanted to hear the story of, when did you decide, hey, I'm gonna write a book, and how was that process like? Because everything else we've kind of talked about was these really hard fitness things that are, you're struggling fitness wise, but then like writing a book is, I would love to hear if there were things that were similar to the challenges that you've had with the book, and then some of the completely different, challenges that you had to face with writing the book.
Yeah, I mean, the book, I wanted to share my story and my mindset on a lot of things that I've gone through. Like writing a book is something I always wanted to do. And I always tell myself, well, I'll wait till I'm older. And this past year, I got to the point where I was like, man, I'm about to turn 30 here soon. And I'd like to think that I've done a lot in those years after graduating high school that I feel like I need to share in a book to like kind of give a little kick in the ass to a lot of people who are younger. So when I was writing it, I was imagining myself as a college student in ROTC, and like what words would I need to hear to kind of provide direction of where I was supposed to take my life before going to the military. So I shared stories, from Ranger School and some shitty situations I was in there, and building the business and the struggles throughout, and some of the fitness stuff. But the book is more about the struggle of growing the brand over the years, and the many, many failures we hit, and the money that I lost along the way, and like the time that I spent, and like it's just been a crazy journey. So I got to the point where it's like I want to share this, because I feel like I've done a lot up until this point that I want to put it into some sort of structure. So I knew what I wanted to write, and I knew how I wanted to write it, and I came up with the title of the book before I even started writing it.
Oh wow!
And I remember like sitting there one day, and I was like 25 hours a day, like perfectly describes my day, because I cram so much within 24 hours. And I've been doing it for so long. That's the only reason I'm here with this company, because growing up, I never stood out in sports. I never stood out in school. I never really stood out in anything. I just kind of blended in. And all the people I graduated high school with that were like valedictorian and number one in their class, they kind of just fell off. But it was just like the work ethic and the discipline that carried me through. So I was like, well, if I can do this, I know other people can do this, and they got to hear it.
Awesome, man. Well, yeah, I definitely recommend that people check out the book. Is there anything that you wanted to say before we ended, John?
No, I just again super appreciative just that you you have a standard that you live by and that you don't compromise by it. And the fact that you've been able to have such a successful, not just like business, but also social brand with YouTube and stuff like that. And I really appreciate you. You are making the fitness space better by what you do. And so just thank you for doing that and sticking to your guns.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Awesome, man. Thanks for coming on.